Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Ganganapate Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyitrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamaha Jano Janandidam Satyam Muchyate Bhavabandhanat Om Shri Swami Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Nar Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Krishna Narayanaaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Vasudev Narayanaaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Shiva Narayanaaya Namaha. Om Shri Badri Narayanaaya Namaha. Om Shri Satya Narayanaaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya 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 Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 12th of January 2023. I want to offer my Danvat Pranam and prostrations to all the great enlightened sages throughout the world in the past, in the present, and yet to come, and to the Supreme One without a second, Parabrahma Paramatma, residing everywhere, Ishavastamidam Sarvam, residing in the heart of all, Ruddesh Rerjana Tishtati. With that prarthana and bhav, we are continuing our careful and systematic study of Sri Vivek Chudamani. In this understanding, which is a Vedanta Shastra of Adi Shankaracharya Ji, which is aiming to teach us how to realize the Atma, to be more aware of what is happening in our lives, what is our day-to-day experiences, etc. We have been examining Avastha Traya. Avastha Traya are the three states of experience: Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, and Shushupti Avastha. Right? So, Avasthatraya is our experience, it's our life. This is part of the function of the brain. And the brain is what creates the waking state, dream state, and of course the existence of even the experience of life in the deep sleep state. If there's no brain, there's no avasthas of any kind. It is a brain function, but it is not only a brain function. So, if you remember the two basic approaches, one is an external research approach, the other is an internal research approach. So the external research approach is through the EEG machines, through looking at neurotransmitter levels, looking at blood tests, and in area of psychology, neuropsychology, cognitive psychology, to understand the experience we have as human beings. The science of mental life, that is called psychology. When we say neuropsychology, that refers to the connection between the biological mechanism that is the brain, with the synapses and all the different transmitters and electrical activity, the connection between that and our psychological first-person experience. That is called neuropsychology. Cognitive psychology is looking at our thinking power and how that exactly works. It looks at some of the neuro also. So then when it looks at the neurological, then it becomes neurocognitive psychology. You see, then there's, of course, just neuroscience. The people who are specialists just in neuroscience are looking just at the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves and how that works. Then there are individual specialists who are studying dreams specifically. They study it in terms of the psychological experience. For example, Sigmund Freud, one of his most famous books was The Interpretation of Dreams. It's a tremendous book, extraordinary. I have actually had the opportunity, I took some time last year to go through that quite carefully. It's very profound, very interesting. I think most psychology students have not even read that actually. They have in the big textbooks, they put some quotations and all that and give some summary. So the dreams are very real for us. And this is what we want to start talking about today a little bit. Today, tomorrow, maybe next couple of days, to really probe into Swapna Avastha one step at a time. I'm just trying to set the background a little bit so we can move into it carefully. We also have the whole area of sleep research. There are sleep labs. People have sleep disturbances and disorders like sleep apnea, which you may have heard of that. Then they have to put on a machine and whatnot, right? So there's quite a bit of development in sleep research in the last 50 years or so. There's a whole area, specialized area in medical science called sleep medicine. That is a new area that has developed specifically for this. Then there are the whole list of sleep disorders. So many. All kinds are there. Ranging from things like nightmares to sleep transition disorders to sleepwalking and walking, things like that. Different movements going on at nighttime. People having sometimes there's also very, very negative experience in sleep, and it can range from positive to negative and everything in between. Okay, so these are disciplines that are present today that are studying sleep. This is the external approach. I hope this is clear. We could you could go to universities and obtain multiple PhDs on this subject and still only scratch the surface of it. That is how intricate it actually is. Then there is the approach in philosophy, Western philosophy particularly, that analyzes the first-person experience. It asks questions about existence. That, okay, do you exist while you're awake? Do you exist when you're sleeping? What is existence? This is a philosophical, analytical, inquiry-oriented approach. That is Western philosophy to a large extent. That is also looking at this. Now, in today's modern academic world, there is a lot of emphasis on the study of consciousness. There's more written on consciousness now probably than many other areas. You can even get PhDs in this now and get tenure and all that kind of thing because it is a very active area of research. One of the most famous books that's been written in the last 20 years is by David Chalmers. And he is a philosopher, but he is also connected with the psychology and neuroscience areas. And he's talked about the conscious mind and what exactly it's all about. What is consciousness? What is awareness? What is consciousness? So this is a big area of study. And they basically look at just one thing, which is then looked at in many other ways. That is the first person direct experience that is not explainable by them. Nobody has a great understanding. Even the material scientists like Daniel Dennett, I believe he's at Tufts University. He is a hard materialist. He doesn't believe that there is anything like mind separate from the brain. Forget about soul and all that. They said there's only the brain. There's a whole series of researchers and theoreticians and scientists, particularly today, particularly in the last 50 years, that say there's nothing like mind, nothing like soul, nothing like God, nothing like anything. It's only material process. That's it. Everything else is just a brain creation. It's an illusion. It is an epiphenomena. That is what it is called. So even the idea of God is some fabricated, created, fake idea from the brain. This is their position. A lot of research supports this idea also. Very interesting. Is it something illusory? Something like a delusion? There's a book that is called by Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion. That most of humanity that believes in God is delusional. Is something crazy going on inside their brain. There's nothing real like God or anything like that. Lots of arguments are there of this type. Massive books are there written of this type today even. And then you have other individuals from Western philosophy like Rene Descartes and others who say, no, mind is very different from brain. Mind is something different from the brain. This is where Vedanta comes in. So the approach taken by the Vedantic meditators from ancient times is an internal, introspective research approach to discover who am I. Now you see the two approaches. You can try to analyze and philosophize, and if you open up the skull, you're going to see a brain. Where do you see the mind? Right? Now somebody will also, there's a lot of counter arguments against that. For example, if I see a red dot on a screen, if you open up the brain, where is that red dot? You cannot see the red dot or anything. The red dot I'm seeing in my mind, in my inner world. That if you ask a neuroscientist, prove where that red dot exists, they might say, okay, there's a synapse firing, there's some brain activation. Yes, but my experience of the red dot prove, how do you explain that? They cannot explain it. This is where the determinists, the hard scientists, the empiricists, all of these people that are saying there's only the brain, they have no answer to this question. Simple question like this. So if I say I'm putting sugar in my mouth, I go to the store, buy that Domino sugar, and I put a spoonful of sugar in my mouth, and I feel this is sweetness. Okay, they can say, yes, there's a tongue, there's a nerve in the tongue, there's the neuronal pattern going on, but where is the experience of sweetness? You can have a computer that is highly sophisticated, that can detect sugar molecules or other molecules, and it can, in certain circuits in the computer, can be activated. Does that mean that that computer is experiencing sweetness? These are questions in artificial intelligence. As artificial intelligence develops further to the point where it mimics the brain, or even goes beyond the function of the brain in terms of its processing ability and all, which it has probably at this point. Is it experiencing anything? Can a computer experience the color red? Can a computer experience the sweetness of sugar? Is that possible? There are some scientists who say that is possible, that even our experience of the color red, the sweetness of sugar, the experience we have of life in general, they say it is called an epiphenomena. Now, what does that mean? I'll explain this concept in just a moment here. For example, if you are in a forest and there are 10,000 trees, actually there's nothing like forest. There's only trees. But we are saying from a distance that there's whole area, we're calling it as a forest. Isn't it so? But the concept of a forest is fake. There's nothing really like a forest. There's only trees there, each individual tree. It is an epiphenomena. It is when you take it all together, there's that experience of seeing that whole area as one thing, as one landmass or one area. We call that forest. And then there's the experience of the forest. But there's really nothing like the forest. There's only trees. This is called epiphenomena. See the logic. Similarly, they say that mind doesn't exist. There's only brain. Only brain, nothing other than brain exists. One time the brain is dead, that's it. There's nothing, there's no soul, brain, atma, vitma, kuch nahi, sab bakwas hai. This is what they say. Lots of people, 90% of scientists today are saying this. But is that actually accurate? So this kind of debate, this kind of analysis was going on even in ancient times. This is not anything new. But Vedanta, the approach in Sanatana Dharma is to answer this question experientially, not simply intellectually through the buddhi. The buddhi, you can have so many different ways of trying to understand this through the buddhi, through the intellect. Atheism, theism, dualism, pantheism, panpsychism, the list goes on. I won't go into all that. We would need 10, 15 hours to even understand those terms carefully. But the approach taken by the rishis is to say, hold on. I know that I exist. I want to find out who I am. And when we try to discover who I am, we are going to come face to face with the whole realm of the internal mind. You don't need an EEG machine. You don't even need any scriptures. You don't need anything actually, except you and your experience. Scriptures came later on through all this. We talked about it before. But in reality, in actuality, if you want to know what is mind and emotion and feeling and memories, and if you want to understand what is your experience and what you can do inside to work on yourself, who can see your mind other than you? Nobody can. Everybody can see some piece of something external here and there. An EEG machine can see some brain waves. You can talk using words to others. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling like in counseling and therapy and all that. So they understand through the words that you're saying. Who can feel what you're feeling? What you're feeling is your feelings. Maybe others are saying, I feel the same way, but that's still their feeling. So the approach taken by the Vedantic teachers and eventually what we call these Brahma Rishis is a direct experiential dive into the internal world. It is a deep dive, which we don't do. Most people don't even know how to do that. The moment we try to do it, our mind and its whole layer, the Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, the Sattva Gun, the Rajo Gun, all these things we have been talking about, the internal world of memories, the internal world of chitta, the internal world of all kinds of images it will show up when you try to meditate. See what happens. And then we try to stabilize it, and it's a tumultuous thing. That's why we have been doing this in satsang every day, to show what the scriptures and sages are talking about in terms of the realization of the Atma Tattva through the stability and integration of the mind. Now you can wind up in philosophical debate, but that philosophical debate has a certain limitation. That's just an intellectual thing. It's a limitation with the buddhi. You can go, different positions are there philosophically, different points of view are there, and then at the end of the day, you're still left with your life. You're still left with making your decisions. It has very little practical, actual application other than, unless you can do something with that probing wisdom. Then it has meaning, yes. So when we are examining what is swapna, what is dream, how does it come about? Can it be changed? Can it be purified? We know, even if we don't go through all the scientific research and all these disciplines, we know it inside that our dreams are, to a large extent, not completely, but to a large extent, due to our experiences and desires while we're awake. Is it true or not? We have to only ask ourselves this question. Then go further and say, do I want to change the experience of my dream life? See the question? You know how people say, I want to change my life. I want to have a better car. I want to have, better exercise, better. Yes, sure, good, but that's fine. You can change your life in the waking state, Jagrata Avastha. Have we as humanity thought in this direction that we want to improve our life while we are dreaming? We want to improve the quality of our dreams? That dream state is happening by itself. We are not in control of it, not at this stage of development. The rishis in the ancient times, when they were doing deepest of meditations, not only could they control the dream state, they went beyond it. Going beyond the dream state is what is needed to realize the Atma. But it's not just a dream state, it's the Sushupti Avastha, where there's no experience of any kind. We'll talk about that later on. The Sushupti Avastha is totally, you're not conscious of anything, but you're alive. And to be awake inside the Sushupti Avastha, that is where the Atmic realization is present. That would mean one has to be very, very balanced and not entangled in the waking and dream state. And zero energy damage in waking and dream state, while one is experiencing life. So Swapna Avastha. Swapna Avastha is REM sleep, rapid eye movement. There are some stages before you get to REM. When we go to sleep at nighttime, we don't just go into dreams like that. We're resting the body, and then slowly we transition through alpha waves, and there's a lot of stages that are shown in sleep research. We eventually wind up getting into this REM sleep. And there's a lot of neural activity. The brain engages in a tremendous amount of activity. And that activity is somehow trying to get itself organized, and the mind, the brain, that's the mystery, is trying to make sense of it somehow. And in doing so, it puts it all together and is trying to resolve all that activity that is occurring occurring inside the brain. And that is called the activation synthesis theory. The activation synthesis theory is trying to, it suggests that the brain engages in lots of random and all kinds of mixed neural activity. And the dreams are the result of trying to make sense and trying to pull it all together, because there's so much material that is accumulated throughout the daytime, etc. And a lot of energy is used there. It is also true that from childhood, from as the baby is born, babies dream 80-90% of the time. Now, what are they dreaming? That's a mystery. What could possibly babies be? Nobody has any answer to that. They say that the brain is developing. It has to dream to develop, but it doesn't have a waking experience or content. What is it dreaming? There's an experience of some kind. What could it possibly be? So there is a theory, and I don't know exactly the research on this, but the theory is that the brain is developing, maturing. But they said that the baby is remembering past life experiences up to some point, and then they forget all that. Maybe, we don't know exactly. It's hard to prove something like that. So it's very, very interesting, because there are 5 major theories of dreams. There's the Freud wish fulfillment theory, Freud's wish fulfillment theory in psychology. We'll talk about this in terms of Vivek Chudamani also. exactly how it works. Shankaracharya ji talks about the urmis, but even before we understand that, we need to see what is happening inside the mind. Then there's information processing theory, there's the physiological function theory, activation synthesis theory, and there's the cognitive theory of brain development. So the wish fulfillment, meaning desire. The Freudian approach is that you have all kinds of instinctual basic desires that you're not getting fulfilled while you're awake. You fulfill them at nighttime. Is there proof of that? Sure. Of course there is. You'll notice that if we go to sleep at nighttime and we are a bit hungry, we didn't eat enough food in the daytime for some reason, or maybe we've exercised more and then you feel hungry, you start having dreams of eating different foods. I don't know if you ever had that experience or not. Because you're wanting that experience, so the brain will generate it and you will have the experience at nighttime eating that thing. It will show up, your favorite sandwich will show up at nighttime and you'll start eating it. It happens when we leave something that we have been enjoying. Let's take a cigarette, for example. Or you can just take, let's just say a food item. Let's just say like a super supreme vegetable pizza from Pizza Hut. Okay, you've got the Pizza Hut. We'll connect Pizza Hut with Shankaracharya eventually. You'll see that, So you love going to that pizza and getting that pan pizza and exactly the way you like it a lot. But then you say, you know what, I'm getting so attached to this and all this thing. I'm going to leave this for 1 year. People take these kinds of niyams. Niyams are certain rules they follow to try to control the senses, to give up something that you like. You know what will happen, right? Wait for about 2 or 3 months, maybe even before that. And what will happen is that at nighttime, that pizza is going to show right in front of you. Guaranteed, it will show up. Because you want that. You have left it from outside. You have not left it from inside. The desire is still there. Vishya vanivartante niraharasidehinah rasavarajam rasopese param drishtva nivartate karmindriyani samyamya yaste manasasmaran indriyarthan vimodatma mithyacharah sauchyate. 2 verses from the Gita talk about this. So that pizza will show up at nighttime. Guaranteed it will show up. Before that year is up, it will show up. And it will show up in a way that you are holding it, you are eating it, you are enjoying it, you are getting the experience that the mind is wanting, that you are denying it. Because you want it. भगवान स्वामीनारायण के एक संत थे, निष्कुलानंद स्वामी. उन्होंने एक पद लिखा है, त्याग नटके रे वैराग्य वीना करिए कोटि उपाय जी. त्याग न टके vairagya vina. Tyag means what we have left. He says, I don't want to eat these pizzas and all this thing, But I say I don't want to, but I want to. I'm saying I don't want to. But internally the desire is there. And in that internally embedded ichha, undi ichha rahe. There's it's a beautiful series of verses. And the distinction between tyag and vairagya is made there. So when there is this internally deeply seated desire, even though psychologically you may be trying to cut it off and whatnot, what Sigmund Freud has stated, and others have stated also, that your dreams are trying to fulfill your wishes. The things you have left deliberately, or things you cannot get in this world, or because of your fears or agitations, whatever that is showing up in the dreams. Things that are being suppressed are showing up in the dreams. Things that you have not faced directly are showing up in the dreams. Family members show up in the dreams all the time. All the time they show up. It's like they're living inside our mental world, because they are. In terms of our memories, in terms of our attachments and our internal related structure. They're all living inside because of the connection of the mind. The mind itself is a interpersonal phenomena. And that is the boundary that the mind is living in. It is living around about 50 to 100 people inside of us, our close friends, and then our whole internal life is connected this way. The rishis knew this. So the rishis said, okay, wait a minute, let's clean that up. Let's clean it up. Yes, we have our friend circle. Yes, we have our families. We have our experiences of eating pizzas and eating whatever we're eating and drinking and whatever we're doing. We have all those experiences. Yes. Okay. But can we move freely through them? That ability to move freely through them without getting locked up by them, that is the difference between Jivan Mukti and a Jivatma that is bound in Maya. That is the basic fundamental difference. Folks, we are at 8:57. I want to try to keep to time. Because this is a very fascinating subject. We're going to go into this in a lot of depth, and really connected with the chakras and with all the other things we have been talking about. Slowly, carefully. It's better that we go slowly and understand more rather than Sachin just speaking fast, trying to get through material which is not going to be helpful for us, right? So with that prarthana, we pray to all the great sages and to the Supreme Lord to bless us with wisdom and with respect to all the people that are working on this whole issue of consciousness. So thank you all. We'll continue on this tomorrow. We'll do the Mantra Pushpanjali right now.